my view, if it was about deficiency in law, I would have proposed the route of regulations, because in the Mining Act, it is also possible for the Cabinet Secretary to come up with regulations to regulate the details that are not in the Mining Act. And so, because it is required so that we do not clutter our legislative book, because in my mind, I was asking myself, yes, today we will come up with a law to regulate the mining of gold. There are 136 minerals I've just counted in the Mining Act listed in the first schedule. Do we therefore then come up with other 136 pieces of legislation to regulate every other mining of all the other minerals? And if we do that, will we be neat legislatively and technically? Number two, Mr. Speaker, as we debate the Gold Processing Act bill that is proposed by the able member for Ikolomani, we must also be alive to the prevailing circumstances in our country. I want to remind members of Parliament that last year, when this Parliament passed the finance bill that had proposed several taxation measures, the country rose up and said, we do not want additional taxes. And as a response to that, the finance bill of last year never saw the light of the day. In the financial provisions contained in this bill, we are proposing that Parliament will appropriate funds that will run the gold mining corporation that is proposed in this bill. We must ask ourselves whether that is actually in tune with what Kenyans want at the moment. Number three, Mr. Speaker, I also have in mind that last week, the President did return a memorandum relating to the cotton bill to the Houses of Parliament. And in returning that memorandum, the President in his memorandum said, we are at a time in our country where we are trying to consolidate our parastatus, where we are trying to consolidate our state corporations. We do not want new state corporations because they are increasing the amount of money that we are spending on administration rather than on recurrent, rather than on development. And the President was asking Parliament to consider amending the cotton bill that had been sent to him for assent in order to remove such part of the administration provisions that we are going to create recurrent expenditures as opposed to development expenditures. And therefore, even as we say that the gold mining corporation is a novel idea, we must also look at it against that. We are aware that there is a cabinet resolution that is coming to Parliament for processing that is proposing the abolishing of many, many state corporations. In that spirit of reducing the state corporations so that we reduce our expenditure on recurrent expenditure, we want also to propose legislation to add some more state corporations. I am just thinking aloud. Mr. Speaker, we must also look at the physical health of our country. And in looking at the physical health of our country, where we are today, all of us know we are moving towards austerity measures. We want to cut costs. And that's why in the initial, my proposal in terms of the regulatory impact assessment, I proposed that instead of coming up with a new law, we might find ways of riding under the Mining Act of 2016 and come up with regulations particularly to mainstream and to address the deficiencies that we see in the mining of gold. And so, Mr. Speaker, I am inclined to support the proposal by the Honorable Shinyali, at least to the context that as a colleague, I value his contribution. I value the time that he has taken. But I am also with reservations that I have stated, the reasons that I have stated, yet to be persuaded that we require to go this direction. You would, Mr. Speaker, and for good reasons. Mr. Speaker, I say this because every one of us here is a member of the National Assembly representing a particular constituency. In the constituency where I come from, there is iron ore. In the constituency that I come from, there is copper. In the constituency where I come from, there is calcium. In the constituency where I come from, there are many, many minerals. And likewise to every member who is here. And like I've wondered before, how will it look like if each and every mineral was to find itself having a bill before Parliament? And so if my colleague would be persuaded, I would be seeking that I will look for him. We have a sitting, and if he persuades me in the next stage, I will be able to look at it. Mr. Speaker, even as we do that, we must, and because I have heard this from Major Waluke and I have heard this from several members of Parliament who say that our country has been used as a conduit for illegal gold transportation. And therefore, as we come up with this law, we must also be careful not to be regularizing illegality, not to be creating a framework for people to gain licenses so that they transport through Kenya, they smuggle gold through Kenya using licenses that appear like they are mining locally. And those are fears that we need to address so that as we legislate and as we debate as Kenyans, we know that the proposals that we pass before this Parliament are for public interest. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I congratulate the member for Ikolomani.
Honorable Lilian Sioi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
She will be followed by the Honorable Augustine Mwafrika, then the Honorable Peter Lochakapong, the MP for Sigor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also stand to support this bill with amendments. And as my brother has just spoken, because I also wanted to say what he has said.
Order, Honorable Lilian Sioi. Today we go up to 9 o'clock. In fact, I'm shocked you are not requesting for more time.
Mr. Speaker, if this country can take minerals seriously in this country, we can really reduce the levels of poverty in this country. This country is rich, and not with gold only, but with a lot of minerals. But we have never given it the best, and we have never taken the miners seriously. As you can see, when we talk about gold, if you go to the market to buy gold, it is very expensive, Mr. Speaker. But when you look at the miners who are mining the gold themselves, they are very poor. The areas that this gold is coming from is equally very poor. And you even wonder, why should we have a mineral that is very expensive when it reaches to the dealers, yet our own people are really suffering while they're the ones who are mining the gold, Mr. Speaker. So I would propose that, because majority of the miners have complained of the licensing, you find out that the dealers are given licenses on time to other people who are also brokers in between, and that raises their levels or increases the levels of poverty on our miners in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill is talking about gold, and I'm only thinking of other minerals in this country, and I'm wondering, should we have different bills coming up, or we should just have one that is inclusive? We talk of mineral processing bill, so that we can include all the minerals that we have, and we take, we give it the best to ensure that we benefit from the minerals that we have in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this bill by Mr. Washali, but with amendments. If we can look into that and see if we can incorporate all the minerals, I think it will be very, very important for this country. Mr. Speaker, I also want to add by saying that we have Mineral Rights Board, which is also doing almost equal thing with what we are discussing at the moment. I don't know how we are going to incorporate and work together with the board so that we combine what they have and the bill brought by Honorable Shinyali, and I thank you so much.
Honorable Augustine Mwafrika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. for this opportunity to contribute to this bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill sounds a wake-up call to the Ministry for Mining. Going by the contributions by members of this House, Mr. Speaker, you would wonder if we have such state department in this country. And the reason why, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this is because this state department was established to provide leadership in the management of extractive sector, Mr. Speaker. I know, Mr. Speaker, this state department is housed at the Transcom in community, within community area, but I wonder, and if I get time, Mr. Speaker, maybe tomorrow or any other day, I'll visit those offices to know what their mission is. Mr. Speaker, the mandate of the State Department for Mining, one is to develop development of mining policies, Mr. Speaker, inventory and mapping of mineral resources, building of capacity for effective management of programs, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that this department has failed this country totally, because this bill, which is seeking the establishment of a corporation to manage gold mining in this country, I want to say that this corporation, if it is established, it will be domiciled in this department. So the establishment of this department, Mr. Speaker, is long overdue. So I would ask this State Department to rise to the occasion and provide leadership within the mining sector, Mr. Speaker. I support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Peter Lochakapong.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I rise to support this bill. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say that this bill is coming at a time when we have so many issues relating to mining in Kenya, generally mining. So there is so much illegal mining going on, not only of gold, but of other minerals. And there is a lot of exploitation of communities and locals due to their ignorance. And I have gone through this bill. I have not seen within the bill a provision for the communities and the local people coming in and what is their role in terms of the person who will be licensed. Now, Honorable Speaker, when you look at the gold processing bill, and we are talking about something they are calling in the preliminary, the gold processing, meaning collecting. Honorable Speaker, collecting, purifying, smelting, fabricating, homogenizing, sampling, registering, monitoring, and transporting of gold or products of gold. So, Honorable Speaker, my understanding is that collecting gold is buying gold. So, if a corporation is, somebody is given a license from this corporation to buy or collect gold. So, what is the relationship, therefore, between that person and artisanal miners or artisanal people who have artisanal permits, people who have mining permits, people who have formed cooperatives within communities and locals? What is their relationship? How do they come in? Because, Honorable Speaker, we will run the risk of licensing somebody and then this person dictates the communities where this gold is found. So, Honorable Speaker, I wanted just to make that observation in the preliminary. And then two, that you provide for licensing of exploration and exploitation. And I think some of these provisions are in the Mining Act. Now it again goes ahead to say that this act shall prevail in the case of any inconsistency. So if we have provisions that are inconsistent with the Mining Act, then this one will take precedent. So I want to say that we may easily run into conflict because of that. And they have also said that a person shall not engage in exploration and exploitation operations of gold without obtaining a permit in accordance with this act. Honorable Speaker, we know that the Mining Act has set the process of obtaining a permit, a mining license, and gold being a mineral, I think will fall into that. So I want to say that we have to look at that. Two, Honorable Speaker, when you look at this bill, now the functions, I want to talk about the functions of the corporation. That is in 8, the functions of the corporation. And Honorable Speaker, within the functions of the corporation, I'm interested in the same thing of the corporation have to collect. So my problem here is to collect, whether collecting is to get gold from the miners, and whether these miners are locals, whether they are cooperatives, whether they are people who have licensed by either county government in the form of artisanal permits. So what is their relationship with this corporation? And then, Honorable Speaker, again, in 11, Honorable Speaker, in 11H, in the board of the corporation, that in H they are saying one person with the relevant qualification or experience in matters relating to mining, geology, geophysics, or engineering, nominated in writing by the Council of Governors. Honorable Speaker, earlier this afternoon we were even talking about the governors want to take everything. Even here, they want to nominate a person to the board of this corporation. So I wanted us to, I was suggesting that whereas we could agree to that, but we must add here that appointed by the Council of Governors, but from the area affected by the corporation. So that the Council of Governors do not just appoint somebody from anywhere. So we must just put a statement that it must, that person appointed to that board must be a person from the area affected by the person probably where these minerals are. That's my thinking in relation to that, Honorable Speaker. Then, in consideration of applications, that is Section 31, Honorable Speaker, consideration for application, that is 31, that in G, the applicant's proposal with respect to engaging in community investment is that the applicant's proposal with respect to engaging in community investment is socially responsible. So, Honorable Speaker, I have a problem in measuring socially responsible because I think this is the place that is coming closer to having a relationship between the person applying for a license and the communities, that it must be socially responsible. So that is something that I was saying that we must be very certain about what that is all about, so that when we are talking about this bill and talking to our people, we must know what is this that is theirs in this bill that we are passing. Then Section 36, Honorable Speaker, Section 36, Part 3, 36(1), that the holder of a processing license shall enjoy the exclusive right to carry out processing operations in respect of the gold or the gold deposit specified in the license within the area specified, subject to the provisions of this Act and the terms and conditions set out in the license. Now, Honorable Speaker, my understanding here is that we will run into the problem of somebody being given an area to operate in, and then now dictates the people there on terms and conditions, because no other person is allowed. And even the people who are supplying or selling gold to this person processing are not allowed to take anywhere else. So there is going to be a big problem because once somebody has been licensed, he has now the exclusive right to engage within that area and nobody else. So I think that becomes a big problem in my understanding. And part 3, again, Honorable Speaker, is that a person appointed by the holder of a processing license to act as an agent of the holder, may exercise the rights of the license under the license, subject to any limitations on the powers of the agent contained in the instruments of appointment. Now, Honorable Speaker, you know, in this country, mining has largely been done by many cartels. Like, for example, in West Pokot, where I come from, and particularly in Sigor, we have illegal mining going on. And there is collusion between those illegal miners and people in the Ministry of Mining, right from the regional offices in Eldoret to the headquarters here. So that now they undertake these illegal activities in full knowledge of the people here when they have not satisfied themselves with the legal requirements. They don't have any mining permit, but they are doing operations and it is known. Sorry, Honorable Speaker. So I was saying that now, when there's a provision within this bill that somebody can get a license, appoint an agent, so we are talking about people can sit in Nairobi here, do documentation, get everything else, and then now just send people to go to the areas that they have been allocated, and this is not going to be very, very good. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that if somebody has gotten a license, then he should just go and do the job for which he has applied to do. So, Honorable Speaker, I think, like, for example, in West Pokot, we must actually pronounce something on environmental degradation. It must come out clearly here. I know it's in some sections.
Do you need a minute or two? Yeah, give him a minute.
Now, Honorable Speaker, we have to seriously look at the environmental degradation especially from illegal miners. From illegal miners. Like, I want to say that in West Pokot, for example, we have big challenges. And just like some colleagues indicated here, we may not legislate for every mineral. And as we speak now, we have the Mining Act 2016. We also have now in place a national mining corporation. But it's, I think, basically dealing with what we call strategic minerals. So I want to support this, but Honorable Speaker, I think we need to do a lot of, we talk with the Honorable Shinali and see whether we can talk about some certain amendments when we go to the next stage and see whether this is coming to solve the problems we have now for our people because they are being exploited by these illegal miners in our areas. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Lastly, the Honorable Timothy Toretich.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important bill, the gold processing bill. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I wish to thank the Honorable Member, Honorable Bernard Shinali, for this very important piece of legislation. Honorable Speaker, my understanding in terms of this legislation is there seems to be, it's either we are addressing the issue or conflicts will arise out of such legislation. So, Honorable Speaker, we have the Gold Mining Act of 2016. If you read clause 4.2 of this particular legislation, it says, Honorable Speaker, that this act shall prevail in the case of any inconsistency between this act and any other legislation. Honorable Speaker, the parent act in terms of mining in this country is the Mining Act of 2016, which actually provides, if you look even at the issue of royalties between the national government and the county governments, what the county government shall be able to get out of a mining activity in a certain county is that the Mining Act has provided very clearly in terms of what will accrue to the county governments. Now, Honorable Speaker, if you say, for example, you have a mining, there are royalties out of a mining in a certain area, in a certain county. If you say that in case of an inconsistency between this act, between this particular proposed law, if it passes to be a bill, to be an act of parliament, and the Mining Act, if you say that this act shall prevail in case of an inconsistency with the Mining Act, then, Honorable Speaker, it will defeat the very intention of us as a House passing the Mining Act of 2016. So, Honorable Speaker, those are the issues that we shall be able to look at when it comes to the Committee of the Whole House and be able to address. Honorable Speaker, be that as it may, Honorable Speaker, I believe that in this country is sleeping on its major resources. There is a lot that we need to do as a country so that we can be able to identify the minerals that we have in this country. Honorable Speaker, I believe that if we are serious as a country and we invest in determining where we can get certain minerals in this country, I believe a country like Turkana, a constituency like Tiati, can be able even to sustain itself, Honorable Speaker, if we are serious as a country to invest in the issue of minerals that we have in this country. Honorable Speaker, I believe that that's an area that as a country we must be able to invest in. Honorable Speaker, there are a lot of gold deposits in this country. In Marakwet, where I come from, Marakwet West constituency, I usually see men and women along River Aror collecting gold deposits with their bare hands, just with some small basin, and they wash and they find some minerals and they sell. Honorable Speaker, I ask myself, if these people who are using their own